everybody. Welcome back to the Suspense Squad channel where authors interview authors. And tonight we have the fantastic, the fabulous, the wonderful Jodie Bailey. We're very happy to have you here, Jodie. You were working on book 19,
Yes.
Defending from Danger.
Yes.
Push it nice close up where you can see it. Very good. I like the dog.
I love the puppies. It's one of my favorites.
And is that a German Shepherd?
Right.
That is a German Shepherd, and in the back are the wolf hybrids.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So let's, you like that?
I'll bring my dog in. She can howl with us.
All right, read the back cover copy so we can learn about the story a little bit.
Okay. It says this. I'll hold it up so y'all can see it. It says this canine has a sanctuary to protect and its owner to rescue. Someone wants Paige Bristow's wolf sanctuary gone and Paige dead. Officer Reese Campbell and his canine partner Maverick are the only ones she can turn to, but she has never told him he was the father of her daughter. As the attacks escalate, Reese must uncover the perp and keep himself from falling for Paige all over again. But will the truth between them cost them everything?
Ooh. Well, that sounds really interesting. Yes.
Fun.
All right. Well, you know how this works because you've been with us before, and we're going to ask you 4 questions, and you're just, going to give us those answers and let our readers know a little bit about you and a little bit about your books and what you're doing and all that good stuff. Okay. So we're going to start with Ms. Hope.
Hey, Jodie, it's so good to see you again.
You too.
And I am excited about this book. So as they mentioned, 19. So as you are looking at almost 20 books that you have written, I want to ask you about your writing process. So I'm sure that what you started out doing at the beginning is, probably evolved. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you write this many books and how you write your books? Are you a plotter, somewhere in between? How that works?
I started out as a pantser. Like I would sit down and I never knew what was happening. And that is my favorite way to write. But when you write for a publisher, they want you to tell them ahead of time what you're going to do. So I read a book about 10 or 11 years ago, right after I wrote my second or third book. And it was called Book in a Month. And the one thing I took from that was she said, take the 10, I wish I could remember who wrote the book, I'm sorry, but she said, take the 10 things that have to happen and put them on index cards and then put them in the order you want them. And so I take the 10 things I know must happen in the book or I have to happen in the book. And then I lay them out and that gives me a loose plot. And then I kind of write between the 10 points. So that way I'm plotting, but I'm also pantsing, or as somebody once told me, it's organic writing. Which sounds so much better than pantsing. So it makes me sound like I have a garden full of words. but that way I can tell them where I'm going when I send in a synopsis or an idea, but then I can still play in between the little note cards. So that lets me do that.
That's really cool. And I've heard of that book. I can't remember who wrote it either, but
I can't remember who wrote it. I wish I could.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Most people are some sort of a hybrid between the two, I think everybody kind of falls somewhere on the spectrum. So, but that's really good. That's interesting.
If I know too much detail about what's going to, like I know I did write one book where I had it plotted out scene by scene, but then it's like knowing what's going to happen in your life before it happens. It kind of loses its, fun. It's not so exciting. And then you get in like, if you're like me, you get in like 5 scenes in and your character tells you something you didn't know. And that changes everything. And man, okay.
And that happens a lot.
They do.
That happens a lot. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'd rather do this than that. But that's in my synopsis. So what do you do?
Well, my poor editor, she has yet to get a book from me that exactly followed this.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing different. She's usually okay with it, but
does anybody else do that? Does anybody else change, like you send them a synopsis and you change it up?
All the time.
So there you go, readers and writers.
I'll tell you a secret. One time one time I decided I was going to have, and I think it was Smoke Screen, I was going to have them run through like a street fair, and they had to like run from the bad guys through a street fair. Well, things changed and I didn't do it. So, and I had it in the synopsis, and I was like, well, I'll do what I'm going. And so the next book, I was like, well, they haven't run through a street fair yet. So I had them run through a street fair in that one. Well, then it changed. So 3 synopsises in a row. I still haven't had anybody run through a street fair. I gave up. Obviously, it wasn't going to work. So.
Since you're talking about writing process, and because we're friends, and I know that you do this, somebody gives you a secret word to put in your book. So what's the secret word for this book? Can you tell us?
This one, I'm trying to think. I don't think this one had one.
What?
Because it was, I know, because it was my cousin. This started way back with my second book. He is a literal genius, and he was talking about something on Facebook, and I didn't understand it. And so I put it in a book just because I was pantsing that day, and it went in the book. And so after that, he started giving me things to put in every book. Like before I start a book, I send him an email and I say, okay, what's the challenge? And the best one he ever gave me was I had to have a penguin. No, I'm sorry. I had to have a firefighter dressed like a penguin broken down on the side of the road. And I did it.
Wow.
That was in breach of trust. But this one, because this one was a continuity, and some of us have worked together on continuity, you have to kind of stick a little tighter to the storyline, and so it's not as much room to play with stuff like that. So, but I've had whole characters 2 or 3 times. I've had whole books come out of just the one thing he wanted me to say. So that whole characters show up.
That's cool.
Very
And
good.
so my editor will be like, I'm looking. She calls it the bin thing. She's like, I'm looking for the bin thing. What's the bin thing?
Well, thank you,
Adds
Ben.
a whole new level of challenge for you.
And some of them are wild, and I'm going,
Because writing a book isn't challenging enough.
I know,
You gotta
exactly.
add
Right.
that extra
Yeah,
level.
exactly.
and I have to have it first because sometimes it necessitates creating a character or creating a scene, or it's not just a word I can drop in. It's been like a 3-year-old playing air guitar, and I mean, my people are running from danger. Where are they going to run into a 3-year-old playing air guitar?
At the street fair.
At the street fair.
Yeah. All right, Miss Loretta, I think you are up next.
Yes. Okay. Well, congratulations on your 19th book.
Thank you.
Out of all these books that you've written, all the personalities that you have in them, how do you determine the personality of all these characters?
This is going to be a really boring answer, as in I don't. I sit down, and I'm really a character first writer. And so I sit down and I just start, I was doing it today. I sit and I sit and I sit. It's something James Rhubarb taught, like just sit until you're bored. Sit until you think you can't sit anymore and see what your brain starts doing. And so I'll just sit for an hour and stare at the wall, literally. And eventually I start thinking about this person. And I start thinking, okay, well, who are they? What are they doing? And they kind of build out of that. But what I have to do before I can write a book is just sit down, write a synopsis, is just sit down and write the first 3 chapters. And then as I'm writing the first 3 chapters, they start talking to me. They start telling me things. They'll start telling me their secrets. They'll start telling me, as I'm typing, they'll be like, well, I always check behind the shower curtain. Well, why? Because my brother used to put snakes in the bathtub, or whatever. And so that I should put that in a book. That just but it's people are like, do you put people not really. I try not to do that. They probably do show up, but I try not to. But they just kind of start talking as I'm going. And I try not to name them after students I've taught. And this was fun. I had Lucas in Dead Run. I didn't want to call him Lucas because I was teaching a Lucas at the time, and I never want my middle schoolers to think that I named a character after him.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what I was calling him, but he would not talk. He refused to talk until I named him Lucas. He just absolutely would not behave on the page. And I named him Lucas, and he's like, well, here's my story. I'm like, really? You're in my brain.
I thought you were talking
I
to
made
somebody
you up.
else. Yeah.
How dare you? But y'all were probably there. Like y'all know.
I thought you were talking to somebody else.
Yeah. He's like, oh, that's not my story. Why is my person with another person? Yeah. Y'all know that if you don't do what they say, they don't like you.
So true. So true.
Very
All right,
clear.
Darlene. Let's hear your question.
Hey, Jodie, how are you? Hey. Good to see you. Congratulations on your book. So I'm curious to know, how did you get started in writing? So give us your kind of background.
I don't remember. Up until I was in high school, I thought everybody thought like me. I don't know if y'all were that way. I thought everybody made up stories in their head and fell asleep at night to the stories in their brains. And, I didn't realize everybody didn't do that. So my grandmother, when she passed away, we found a stack of stories in her desk, and they had wonderful suspense gems like Anne Goes to the Fair. But it was, I had written stories since kindergarten, pretty much since I could pick up a pencil. And she bought me, I used to type, she had a yellow electric typewriter because I'm old. And I used to type stories on her typewriter. So she bought me a typewriter when I was in 6th grade. Aww. And I would type stories on my typewriter. And she passed away before my first book came out. So, so she never got to see it published. But I just told stories all the time. And I just thought, this is a fun hobby. And I would write stories for my friends. I'm sure a lot of us did that. I hope I'm not weird. But wrote a lot of fan fiction in high school. And so, but that teaches you characterization because you have to stick with, what the characters are like. So one day I was sitting in a Bible study and I was watching the Bible study teacher on the video teach. And I was like, she has the greatest job. She gets to write about God and talk about God and how awesome. And God was like, hey, dummy, what do you think you're supposed to do? Why do you think you enjoy this? So I started to write a Bible study, and that was not right. He's like, do you like writing Bible studies? I was thinking about it. I was like, no, I like writing stories. Yeah. So I got hit in the head again. So, so that's how it happened. That somebody there, I can't turn my computer around, but up above my computer, there's a bumper sticker on the wall and it says rock star. Because I always thought, saying I want to be a writer and I want to publish a book was like when you're like 4 and you want to be a rock star. And nobody really did that. John Bon Jovi just was born a rock star. He didn't become a rock star. And so, anybody can be a rock star. Yeah. So if you do, what you're supposed to do. So I have a bumper sticker that says rock star. And I used to tell my kids that. I would tell my students all the time, somebody has to play for the NFL. Somebody's got to play for and I have a kid playing for the NBA, and I have a kid playing Major League Baseball. It's like, cool. I think I motivated them.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think it was me, but I'll take the credit.
That's awesome. Cool.
Very nice. Okay, Ginger, let's hear your question.
Okay. Hi, Jodie.
Hey.
Congratulations on your
You too.
18th book. I want to know about the Wolf Sanctuary. Where did you come up with the idea? What kind of research did you do? It's just fascinating.
I got buried in that research. This was a continuity, and so Harlequin wanted a wolf sanctuary. So I did not come up with that idea on my own. They asked for that, but that was kind of a really cool God thing because when I was growing up, my mom's best friend had 2 wolf hybrids. She had a husky wolf hybrid named Sheba, and then I don't know what Sasquatch was, but he was huge and he looked like a bear. Like he looked like an actual bear running around. And they were the sweetest animals. And so it was so much fun for me to be able to, pull what I knew from them and being around them into the wolf sanctuary thing. And I didn't realize how many hybrid wolf sanctuaries there are out there. They're huge in Colorado. They're huge out in that area because a lot of people will adopt them and they don't realize when you crossbreed a wolf with a dog, you never know what side of the DNA you're going to get. And so some of them will fall to like the docile, dog side, and some of them will fall to the wild wolf side. And so you just don't know until they outgrow the puppy stage really what's going to happen. And people just aren't ready to train a wild animal, which is what some of them end up being, and they end up in these sanctuaries. Hopefully they end up in these sanctuaries and are raised, but they are trainable animals. And while I was writing this book, somebody let 5 loose in Raleigh. 5 or 6 of them got loose in Raleigh, and
Oh,
were running around Raleigh, and they were trying to catch them. So,
Hmm.
but yeah. But also while I was writing the book, we adopted our new dog while I was writing this book. As I was finishing it up, we adopted I was looking at I think this is the one I dedicated to the dogs. I dedicated it to my dogs. I think it was this one. Yeah. Because we lost both of my dogs 2 weeks apart while I was writing this book. And so we had one for 13 years, one 9 years.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of hard. It was hard. And then we adopted our new dog. So, and she sings with you.
that's
I
kind of
joked
neat.
earlier about bringing her in the howl, but she would, if I brought her in, she would howl with us.
Aw, that's kind of neat that God gave you a dog story to write during the time that you
Yeah.
lost both your dogs. I think that's kind of,
It was healing.
yeah,
It
therapeutic.
kind of directed some of the story a little bit, kind of, the empathy for the animals kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Love
As
that.
you have mentioned a couple times about how this book is a continuity.
yes.
So for those readers watching who don't know what a continuity is, can you kind of explain what that is and what the process is to get to write for that?
The continuities are fun and frustrating because you get to work with anywhere from, I've worked with 3 writers all the way up to I think 11 on continuity. And what happens is Harlequin or Love Inspired, whichever one, comes up with a story arc that they want to cover anywhere from 3 to, I think, Dana, I know you, about maybe 10 books and some novellas. And they come up with the whole storyline and the plot, and they come up with the individual books and the characters. And then they send you a story Bible, and it has everybody's plots in it, and it has all the characters in it, and it's this lovely little thing where it tells you how the whole story arcs and where everything takes place. And then you take your story and you expand it however you want to, and you can tweak some. You can, you have some leeway there, as long as, like, if Dana's writing the book after me, I don't mess up her book. And we're all together on a big giant email loop, and we're sharing ideas and saying, well, I wrote this and I did that, and here's how I changed it. And sometimes it goes super quick, and sometimes there's a lot of changes to be made, and you got to keep track of who's changed what. But it's a really fun opportunity to work together with other people, because writing is very solitary. Somebody else in here was in a continuity.
I was
in
in one.
I know you were, but I thought
Darlene,
somebody else
you
was.
were in one.
I am.
Darlene, were you
Yeah.
in one that I was in?
Yeah, but mine sounds a lot different because I didn't get like emails with all the others. The only thing
Okay.
I had to pick a dog, and it had to be a search and rescue dog.
Okay. So I was thinking I worked with somebody else too, but anyway, so it's a fun idea because writing is really solitary, but you get to work with all these other people for a while and just kind of all be a team on this one big thing. So it's fun. And, it's a little frustrating when you want to, like, when you're me and you get halfway through the story and you're like, oh, I wish I could change this. And you can't, because then it'll mess up Dana's book. So,
Defending from Danger is out right now. August in stores on Amazon.com. So pick up your copy, learn about all those wolf sanctuaries. And of course, Jodie Bailey is one of my favorite LIS writers. She weaves a great suspense story together and will keep you turning the pages. So go pick up her book.